Um, that's tough. Someone who can help us win games would be the number one thing. So that's what comes first and foremost. What helps us win games? They got to fit into what we're doing, and they got to have the ability to do it. They got to be the right type of person. So I think that was four, but sorry.
You guys hired Wes Welker.
I wanted to get someone in. I always try to get someone in who played the position, which is sometimes tough to do. But if you can find someone who did it and you feel they're prepared from a coaching standpoint, it's kind of the best of both worlds. And Wes, I've known just hanging out with him, meeting him over the years. I've never worked with him or anything, but he was always, he's one of my favorite players of all time, just watching him from afar and what he did. I used to play against him in college when he was at Tech, and just watching how he made it and the way he made it. That's a guy who not only was really talented, but made it because of what was upstairs also and how he developed. And knowing he's put in the work and put 2 hard years in at Houston, going through the quality control route, and just talking to him and interviewing him, you could tell he was serious about becoming a coach and was ready to put in the work, put in the hours. And he's a talented guy, a good person, and feel fortunate to have him on the staff. Well, Mike LaFleur, last year his title was pass game coordinator / receivers. It'll make his job as a pass game coordinator a lot easier, taking him out of that room. It's very tough to do both. Stuff that I try to meet with him on and depend on him for game planning and stuff, but then he's got to coach the receivers. It just makes his job easier. So bringing in some guys to do that takes a little off his plate, which should help us out more in game planning and things like that.
Sean doing well, and Matt getting an opportunity in Green Bay. How do you feel about having a coaching tree that's kind of spreading, and how do you think Matt's preparing?
You guys talk about the trees, so I appreciate you guys saying that, but my dad hired all of us in Washington, so if there was a tree, I would definitely give that to him. I'm real happy for Matt, obviously for Sean. We all started working together at a pretty young age, and we're all good friends, and I'm glad all those guys have gotten opportunities, and real pumped for Matt this year, and he'll do a hell of a job. They've made a great choice.
He says he'll still reach out to Sean and you, just bouncing stuff off in terms of head coach type responsibilities. Do you hear from him very often, or just periodically?
Periodically, and it's not just now that he's a head coach. We did the same thing last year, every year. We worked together in Houston for 2 years. We worked together in Washington for 4 years. He went to Notre Dame when I was at Cleveland. That was a year away that we would bounce things off each other too. So you rely on people in the business that you're close to and have worked with, and guys that are your friends. So that's something we'll always do. I'm not sure. As an offensive coach, the challenge is, I think the challenge is how you prepare throughout the week. The order of how you do things needs to change. I was a coordinator for 9 years before becoming a head coach, so I was very regimented in what I did on Monday, Tuesday, all the way up to be prepared for Sunday. And you got to change that around. You have different responsibilities on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as a head coach, so you can't go through your same process. But you do have to pick that up as the week goes, so you're prepared on Sunday and nothing changes. So that was the biggest challenge for me. But during games, it's not much of a difference for an offensive coach, I feel. There's not many times in my life I've called a play not thinking about the time, the score. I think that might be a little bit easier for offensive coaches just because you're used to it, where defensive coaches are more defending and they don't always have to think about that stuff as much. But I haven't called defensive plays, so I want to know. You'd have to ask one of them. I first met Rich when I was in Atlanta. We had an O-line coach, Chris Morgan, who had worked with him before. We had a O-line assistant job open to draw the pictures and do all the grunt work that we've all been through. And Rich was an OC in college at the time, and he left that to come do it, did it with us for a year. And so I just got to spend a year with him in Atlanta, and I really enjoyed him, was very impressed with him, thought he knew a lot about quarterback play and offense. It was great that he was drawing the runs and learning O-line stuff, which gives you a much broader idea of how to be a coordinator, but he was very skilled already at the quarterback position. So when I got the chance to come to the Niners, I always knew I wanted to bring him as a quarterback coach, and I had 2 years with him there and did a great job. It sucked to lose him, but I'm very happy for him because he deserved it, and the Broncos got a good coach.
Kyle, you're a month removed from the Senior Bowl now. What stood out to you about the performance of Mississippi State players you had on the team?
They're all good guys. They all worked hard. It's always nice to be at a place with people for a week. Down here, we're here to meet guys, but I'm going to meet them in a 15-minute interview, which is kind of like you guys talking to me right now. It's not the most one-on-one stuff where you can totally get to see who someone's like. So being around those guys all week, you can tell they were coached well in college. You can tell they're good people, and they should have a good career in this league.
Coach, what did you see out of Dante Pettis last year? What do you expect role-wise, inside, outside, line up everywhere?
Yeah, I have big expectations for Dante. You know, we did before we drafted him. We had it throughout this year, and we expect him to continue to get better. You know, I think he went through the normal rookie-type ups and downs that a lot of them do as receivers. He came in strong in training camp, got a little banged up, but was healthy enough for week 1, did well. Week 2, I think he had a touchdown on week 1, and week 2 he got an injury that kind of set him back. You know, he didn't get right till about week 12, and then he finished the year up very strong. Finished the year up probably as our best guy, and expect him to come in next year and be even better. He's a guy who can play all 3 of the positions, and also a good returner, and we're very excited that we have Dante.
Coach, is it fair to start putting George Kittle in the same conversation with guys like Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz?
I mean, yeah, you have to. I mean, he had that type of year. I mean, he had the most yards in NFL history as a receiver, and he's as good of a blocking tight end as I've ever been around. So he's a pretty good player.
Kyle, Matt said that he thought maybe he could tug at your heartstrings a little bit to get his brother. You haven't looked at your dad. Did you consider it at all to let Mike go with them, or is that just not going to be possible?
No, I totally considered it. And it's something that possibly could have worked. They weren't the most patient with it, but I put a lot of work or spent a lot of time with a lot of guys on our staff that I've been hoping for a long time to get the opportunity to be a head coach. So there's been guys that I've worked with from a young age and myself to train them for this role to help me in this spot. So it's kind of tough when you go through a 4-12 year. I really wasn't expecting to lose anybody. We were 4-12, and we had 4 guys try to get rated from our offensive staff. So I was a little more prepared for it now. I've got some guys in that I think will help us prepare for that more in the future. But, Mike LaFleur is a great coach. He's going to be a great coach. He's done great things for me. And if he wants to work with his brother, that opportunity will come for him soon.
Kyle, you mentioned working under your dad with Matt and Sean. Can you give us an idea of when you guys had beers on the table after work or whatever, what it was like for you to be getting together and talking football? Now looking at you.
I mean, it was very normal for us. We were all younger guys, and it wasn't just us 3. There was a lot of people there. I mean, we had Raheem Morris there. We had Mike McDaniel there. Chris Furster there. We had a bunch of really good coaches, and that was a cool thing about that building. It was the first building that I'd gone to where the head coach really thought about all the staff and took a lot of our input, and we got a bunch of guys there who grew to like each other, but we were all very eager in the same way and kind of came from some different spots, but it was a fun time because we all developed a friendship. We all went through a lot of trials and errors of going through different quarterbacks, some different systems, but all our time in Washington made us better, and something we'll always look back on.
You mentioned it with Wes, the playing experience that mattered. Are there certain positions on your staff where you weigh that more than others, and why?
No, I mean, the most important thing is that you can coach and you know what you're talking about. If by far the most important thing. If you're one of those guys and you played, that's even better. You can relate in a bunch of different areas and stuff. But if you hire a person just because they played, that might last the first week. A guy will listen to a guy just because they remember what he looked like on TV, but once they realize that they can't teach him anything, then it becomes a very long year. So you got to get the best of both worlds.
Did you get together with Miles in Cleveland? Is that, and what was it?
Yeah, Miles is one. I was with Miles 1 year. He tore us up and plenty of times when I was at Washington and he was at Dallas. But my 1 year in Cleveland, we got him. I think it was the second to last year of his career. And that's where I got to know Miles. And Miles was one of my favorite players that I've ever coached, just in terms of how on it he was, whether it was the run game, the pass game. He really enjoyed football. He was descending at that time in his career, so I wasn't sure if I was going to like him as much. But then when I got there and I saw the person, you could see why he was so successful. And a guy like that, you're always like, hey, man, if you're ever really interested in being a coach, you'd be a hell of a one. But also a lot of those guys I think are too smart to be coaches. I'm like, man, you made some money, your life's happy. You seem like your wife likes you. You don't have to move very much. Like, why do you want to come coach? And usually a lot of them are just like, because I just miss it. And those are the guys who come and they do it for a year and they're like, man, this isn't what I thought. Miles got into scouting at Dallas, had done him for a little bit. He's been hitting us up for a while. We flew him down to Mobile just to not necessarily interview him because it wasn't about that. just to hang out with him, see how passionate he was about getting into football and how serious he was. And when you could hear how much he wanted to do it and how good he wanted to be, he has every skill set possible to be as good of a coach as he wants. I just wanted to see how bad he wanted to do it, and he has shown that he really wants to do it. So now he's going to put in the work, and it's a matter of time before it'll be a real good one.
A few teams that still feature a fullback a lot in the offense. What schematically does the fullback give to you that you like to use?
I mean, one, Kyle's very versatile, so I think we'll always use a fullback. I mean, I personally will always. I think it gives you too much of an advantage, but Kyle, we probably do it a little bit more than usual just because it's the advantage of our personnel. Just a fullback in general, though, it allows us to dictate things to the defense. I mean, you can begin in certain personnel groupings that are impossible to run against if you don't have a fullback. So if you have a fullback in there, they know you can run it at any time, which simplifies a little bit of what the defense is doing. And also, if we can move that fullback to different positions to where he's not actually playing fullback, then it gives us an advantage.
What all went into the discussions to put the tag on Robbie? What have you come to really appreciate about being confident?
Yeah, I think we put the tag on Robbie because he's a great kicker and we don't want to lose him. We've been in negotiations with him for a while. We haven't come to a conclusion, decide on it for both sides, and it's really a credit to Robbie that it shows that we don't want to lose him. And when we franchise him, it's because we're hoping to get more time to solve this with him. I know he's going to be a Niner this year. I know he's not going to be on someone else's team, but I really hope it's longer than 1 year. So franchise tag means we don't have to stop negotiating March 13th. That means we can keep going all the way up to the season. And I know how bad we want him, and hopefully we'll meet somewhere in the middle and it'll work out.
What do you appreciate about having that position secure?
That he makes it most of the time. I mean, it's very, unfortunate we haven't been a great team these last 2 years where he's had to make a bunch of game-winning field goals. But I've been calling plays long enough that it's very tough when you get to that 30-yard line that you don't believe the quarterback. I mean, you don't believe the kicker is going to make it, and it takes him a while to earn that belief. Every time we get there, I never think we're going to miss it, and it's a very good feeling to have as a play caller, as a coach, and that's something Robbie's given us for 2 years.
Coach, how is Jared McKinnon's recovery coming along? And do you expect that, presumably he'll be the lead guy in that backfield when he does return?
Well, yeah, that's what we brought him here for. This day and age, everyone usually, ACL, everyone recovers pretty good, it seems, but it's also tougher from a running back position, I would say, than the quarterback. So I think him and Jimmy are really, I think Jarek did it a month behind him. But I think they'll be on about the same page coming back just because, Jimmy, it's a little easier to throw in there in OTAs and stuff in 7-on-7, where it's hard to throw a running back in there because if someone runs into him, it's a little different. They got to make cuts that are a little bit different. But Jarek's been working his tail off. It's the first time he's hurt his knee. Everything's on pace to be back, and really excited to get him back.
Kyle, you've had a lot of turnover at the strength and conditioning staff. So how do you go about evaluating the new hires, especially coming off such an injury for the season?
Well, yeah, we made a change at our strength and conditioning coach with Ray and our head trainer with Fergie. Something that was extremely hard on us. I have more respect for both of them. I think they're both very good at what they do. Getting to know Ferg for these 2 years, and Ray I've known for a long time. I've been in 3 different buildings with him. He's a very good strength coach, and he's a very good friend too, so it was not an easy decision. But we have been very unfortunate with injuries, and I don't blame that at all on either one of those two. But we kind of wanted to start over and kind of connect all the spots together a lot more. So we're trying to, I always forget the title, so we're trying to get a head coach of strength and conditioning, which we have, and Ben Peterson, and he's helped us with that stuff, and we're trying to connect the 2 dots together, and Ray's number 2 and Dustin Perry. Once I talked to a lot of the players after we did make the change and just asked them about a lot of the guys we had and going forward, the recommendations from the guys were so high on Dustin that we didn't look into many other people. And we got Ben. We still got to get ahead of trainer, which we're interviewing a few people this week, and we're going to decide on that with Ben. But we feel very good with where we are at now as a whole. And although it was hard, we think we made the best decisions for the Niners.
Becoming a lot more palatable for teams to draft short quarterbacks higher. Short quarterbacks have had a lot of success. What's happening in the sport or in the league that's made the difference? Is that possible?
I don't think anything's happening different. It's just you see one person do it, and then other people realize things are possible. You watch like snowboarding and stuff, and people never thought you could do more than whatever 2 360s is. That sounds real stupid saying that. Was it 720? And then all of a sudden does 3 of them, and it's like then a year later 10 of them do that. So yeah, we'd all like tall guys with the biggest arm in the world who can run faster than everyone and know how to play quarterback. You haven't seen those all over the years, but I mean, Drew Brees is getting one who's ever played the game. He's a smarter one, so. And it goes by percentages. The odds are if you're taller, it should be easier. If you're faster, it should be easier. If you have a better arm, it should be easier. But like I'll say about every single position, there's no absolutes at anything. So if guys can throw and play the position, I mean, they don't have to dunk. I mean, if they can jump, they can be small and still dunk. So everyone gets too big into odds are the taller you are, the easier it is. But if short guys can play, and that's being proven over and over again. I think the best thing for Kirk is just a full system for him that's tied together. Kirk just using the running game, which I know Gary puts a lot into, takes pressure always off the quarterback and the offensive line, which I believe you have to do for every single quarterback in the league. If you're going to drop back all the time and do that, it's very tough to do. And you guys have been able to do it over a long period of time. So getting him in there, I think that'll help him to a degree. But I know Kirk's a great quarterback, and I got the utmost respect for Coop. So I think it'll be a good match.
You guys hopefully are invested into your offensive line last offseason. How do you feel like that investment paid off?
It paid off. It paid off very well in terms of I thought we got one of the best centers in the league. I think he played at a very high level for about 6 games, and then he battled through a very tough injury for the rest of the year, and still was solid enough for us to compete and do a good job. But he got that taken care of this offseason. He got a surgery. Unfortunately, he won't be healed till training camp. But I think that'll help him go in and give him a better chance to play through all 16 games at the level that he's capable of. Lincoln was great for us, just being able to re-sign him, get him here. We feel like we got a steal in the trade we made with Detroit the year before, and being able to keep him here a little bit longer. And then what we did with just the fact that Mike Person came in off the street, we signed him, and he was able to start 16 games for us. I know he's a free agent this year, but I was happy with those guys. And McGlinchey to come in and play all 16 games as a rookie too, I thought he did very well. And I think the O-line and the experience they got last year, the players we had, how much they played, I think will give us a huge advantage going into this year.
How hard is it for a rookie tackle to come in and play the way that you did?
Very hard. Yeah, very hard. It was impressive.
Kyle, you've worked last one got styles of quarterbacks. In your experience, is there one or two aspects of quarterbacking that's just really hard to teach that if they don't have it coming in, you're probably not going to ever help them develop that trait?
Throwing. Yeah.
Just throwing mechanics.
Yeah, if a guy throws a certain way and you think we're going to teach him at 23 to throw it differently, he might do it in practice, he might do it in drills, but you throw him into an NFL game in the heat of battle, and he's going to resort to who he is and what he's always done. So if they're not one of the 32 best throwers on the planet, they better be extremely fast. They better be able to run. They better be extremely something. Better overweigh that. So because that's something that you really can't teach.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.